Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to African Stories, Folktales, and Jokes. This is your home for the best stories from across our beautiful continent. Whether you are here for the laughter, the legends, or the gripping drama, you are in the right place. Tonight, we begin a new story that has it all: suspense, shocking secrets, and a twist you will never see coming. So, find a comfortable spot, turn up the volume, and get ready. Tonight, we dive into our new series, I Replaced the Billionaire's Daughter. Let's begin. The clatter of spanners, the rattle of engines, and the sudden bursts of laughter from apprentices made Sadek's mechanic shop in Ajegunle sound more like a noisy market than a place of business. The streets were hot even at noon, and the shop smelt of petrol, roasted suya, and the stink of the canal nearby. People came and went to wash their cars, to haggle about repairs, and to buy spare parts. In the middle of all this was Zahrah, sitting on a battered wooden bench, looking like she had been dropped from a different world. She was 22, and her skin glowed like it had no business belonging to a girl who grew up among rust and grease. Customers sometimes mistook her for a model living in the slums for content, but Zahrah had long stopped explaining. Her face was so stunningly beautiful, it seemed photoshopped into the gritty reality of the mechanic shop. Yet she moved through the grease and grime with familiarity. Hey, see Zara, one apprentice muttered to another, pretending to sweep. See fine girl, wasting her destiny in mechanic workshop. Abeg, shut up, his friend whispered back, smirking. If your sister fine reach her, Sadek for don wife her too. The boy snickered, but Zara didn't care. She sat with a thick economics textbook balanced on her knees. This was her escape. The university was her ticket out, and she studied with a ferocity that matched the surrounding struggle. A burst of loud laughter cut through her focus. Sadek, shirtless and sweating, emerged from under the chassis of a battered Toyota, holding a faulty carburetor like a trophy. See this thing, he announced to the world. It has more problems than Nigeria, but Sadek don't solve them. Zara couldn't help but smile. Sadek was her childhood friend who had traded school for spanners and built this small kingdom of oil and metal. He was fine in his own rough-hewn way. His hands were permanently stained with grease, but his loyalty felt better than the empty promises of her peers. Sadek also always found ways to make her laugh until her stomach hurt. Better clean your face, she said, handing him a rag. You look like you wrestled with Diesel itself. Diesel still they fear me, Sadek said proudly, puffing his chest. Now Diesel they cry when Sadek touch her. And then it happened. A hush fell over the shop as a sleek black Lexus glided in from the dusty road, its paint gleaming like liquid glass. The apprentices froze, jaws slack. Luxury cars didn't belong in Ajegunle, at least not without tinted windows and a police escort. Within seconds, every boy in overalls dropped his tools and rushed forward, grinning, eager to outdo one another with flattery. Welcome, Oga! Fine motor, boss! Abeg, make we wash am for you. But the car window stayed firmly rolled up. The hum of the idling engine was the only answer. Then, with a whisper, a voice floated out from inside. Not you, it said. I want the girl, that one sitting on the bench. The apprentices turned in unison, and all eyes fell on Zara. Her laughter died in her throat. Z, Sadek said. Now you them they find though. The Lexus door handle clicked. And Zara's world, the noisy, greasing, laughing Ajegunle, changed forever. The sound of the unlocking door was like a gunshot in the silence. Zara's feet felt rooted to the dusty ground, but some unseen force pulled her forward. The eager apprentices parted for her, their whispers hissing like snakes. Auntie Zara, your destiny don't come, oh. See as the car they wait for you like Nollywood. Sadek took a step towards her, his face a mask of protective concern. Zara, you no need to go. But she was already beside the car, straining to look inside. The tinted window began to slide down. A hand emerged. It was a woman's hand, light-skinned and with manicured nails, wearing a heavy gold bracelet glinting at the wrist. It held out a single folded slip of paper. The person inside didn't say a word. Zara, with trembling fingers, reached out and took the outstretched piece of paper. The moment she collected it, the hand withdrew. The window slid up immediately, and the car roared to life, pulling away from the shop and disappearing into the chaotic stream of traffic as if it had never been there before. Zara stood there, confused, for a minute. Then everyone descended on her in a wave of excited chatter. Auntie Zara, you don't enter Big Brother Niger. No be BBN, now modeling gig, another argued. See as them package rich, your life don't change. Auntie Z, one more squealed, mock bowing. Remember us when you reach, oh. Sadek snatched the paper from Zara's frozen hand and waved it over his head. Make una calm down. Na my babe dem want, no be you. Zara rolled her eyes, snatched the paper back, and pressed it against her chest. I'm nobody's babe, she muttered, though she blushed. Sadek smirked, then turned. Oh yeah, everybody scatter. Go back to work. He turned back to Zara. So, what is it? Zara's fist was clenched tightly around the paper. A cold fear coiled in her stomach. I don't know, she whispered. The urge to open the paper right there was overwhelming, but her instinct screamed at her to hide it. This was not for everyone's eyes. I need to use the bathroom, she said abruptly, turning away from Sadek's questioning gaze. She hurried out of the shop and into the adjoining compound, a cramped collection of rooms where Sadek and a few other families lived. As she rushed towards the shared bathroom at the back, she almost tripped over the legs of two women perched on a bench, fanning themselves and observing the world. Auntie Bisi and Auntie Ungo, the neighborhood's unofficial news channel. Zara! Auntie Bisi called out, her voice sharp with curiosity. Where you dey run go like say police dey your back? And wetin that big car want? Nothing, Auntie Bisi, Zara mumbled, trying to sidestep them. I want to use the bathroom. Auntie Ungo leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. You wan use the toilet? You sure say you no wan go check something? She winked. Zara felt a wave of embarrassment and irritation. Auntie Ungo, it's not that. I just need to use the bathroom. She didn't wait for another question, hurrying past them and into the small concrete cubicle, locking the door behind her. Leaning against the door, her heart pounding, she finally unfolded the note. On it, typed in an elegant font, was a single mobile number, and below it, an address. The Ivory Room, Grand Orchid Hotel, 8 p.m. The Grand Orchid Hotel. She had seen pictures of it in magazines. It was a world away from the rust and dust of Ajegunle. She couldn't even afford a bottle of water from their minibar, let alone a meal in a place called the Ivory Room. 1,000 questions swarmed her mind. What was all this about? Could it be related to her missing mother? The woman had vanished when Zara was a child, leaving only a faded photograph and a lifetime of questions. Was this some long-lost relative finally appearing, or was this something else entirely? Zara sighed. Leaning against the cracked tiles in the bathroom, there was only one person she could ask. She stepped out of the bathroom, ignoring the auntie's knowing looks, and headed out of the compound. She had to know. What secret from her past had just arrived in a black car? The note burned against Zara's hand all the way home. If she were in school, at least lectures and assignments would have buried her thoughts, but on holiday break, she had no distractions for the questions in her restless mind. Ajegunle's night air was hung with the smell of fried akara from a roadside stall. Zara greeted the woman, then turned the corner and stepped into her father's shop. The small barbing salon smelled of talcum powder and hairspray. Posters of footballers with immaculate haircuts lined the cracked walls, curling at the edges. This was her father's world. A single room with a warm barber's chair, a mirror with a crack in the corner, and the faint constant buzz of a clipper that had seen better days. Ikem was just brushing stray hairs off the last customer's shoulders when she entered. My Zara! Ikem's booming voice filled the shop as the man paid and left. He had a towel around his neck, his shirt sleeves rolled, a grin splitting his face. I was about to send a search party to Sadek's shop. That boy will soon move his bed there. When is he going to bring the palm wine and cola nuts to this family, eh? Or has he forgotten the tradition? Zara sighed. That was her father's favorite joke, but today it grated on her raw nerves. She dropped her bag onto a plastic chair with more force than necessary. What family, Daddy? She retorted, her voice sharper than she intended. The one I can't see? The one that never visits us in this place? Ikem stopped smiling. Our people are in the village, you know that. They are proud of you. They are university students. He tried to smooth things over. Soon, you will build me a big house and they will all come to celebrate. Zara just shook her head, her anger deflating into a familiar weary sadness. She didn't have the energy for this. She mumbled something about being tired and pushed past the curtain that separated the barbing salon from their living quarters. Their house was small, a narrow corridor kitchen, one room crammed with her father's belongings and the other with her own. Outside, they shared a bathroom with the other families. Zara hated it. The peeling paint, the thin walls, and the gossip in the compound. Each time she bent over her books in school, it was this life she swore she would break free from. She would study, graduate with a first-class degree, and she would never ever have to share a bathroom with 5 other families again. After dinner, which Zara cooked, Ah and her father sat in the small sitting room. Ikem chattered about his customers, but Zahrah's mind was miles away, itching to talk about the folded note in her pocket. Finally, after she had washed the plates, she could bear it no longer. She sat opposite him on their old sofa, taking out the note, her hands trembling slightly. "Daddy," she began, "something happened today." She unfolded the paper. "A car, a very rich person's car, came to Sadek's shop. They gave me this." She held it out. "Read it." Ikem brushed the paper away. "You know say I don't know how to read." Zahrah took a deep breath. "It's a phone number and an invitation to the Grand Orchid Hotel." Ikem's eyes widened. "The Grand Orchid? Kai, that is where governors and oil ministers sleep." A proud smile spread across his face. "I knew it. I knew my daughter's beauty would take her out of this place. It is a modeling agency or one of those television shows. They have seen you." "Daddy, no," Zahrah insisted, a cold knot forming in her stomach. "It wasn't like that. It was strange." She leaned forward. "Do you think this has anything to do with my mother?" The joy drained from Ikem's face. His shoulders sagged. For a long time, he only stared at the table. Finally, he reached for her hand. "Z," he said gently, "I have always told you. Your mother is gone. She is dead." Zahrah shook her head. "I don't believe you." Ikem flinched at the sharpness in her voice, but only patted her hand. "My daughter, your star don't dey shine. Why you dey frown? Me, I'm happy for you." His eyes lit up with pride, but he only made Zahrah feel unhappy. She pulled her hand away. "Then I'm not going. Whatever it is, I won't go." As she said it, she rose from the sofa and stormed to her room, slamming the door. For the rest of the week, Zahrah buried the note under her pillow and pretended it never existed. When the apprentices asked her about the mysterious Lexus, she only smiled and shrugged, letting their wild imaginations do the rest. "Auntie Zahrah, your sugar daddy know they come again?" one of them asked, his eyes gleaming with mischief. Before long, the apprentices came to the absurd conclusion that they were on a reality show. They began to act as if their every move was being filmed by hidden cameras. They would strike exaggerated poses while changing tires, or have dramatic whispered arguments about who Zahrah's mysterious benefactor could be, all for the benefit of an imaginary audience. It was hilarious to Zahrah, and she didn't bother to correct them. For a few hours each day, she forgot her worries. But at night, in the silence of her room, the worries returned. The address echoed in her mind, betting a seed of curiosity that, despite her best efforts, was sprouting into a relentless headache. What if it was about her mother? What if it was a real opportunity, a scholarship, a job offer that could lift her and her father out of Ajegunle forever? Her father's insistence that her mother was dead felt more like a shield than a truth. What was he protecting her from? Or what was he protecting himself from? The fear of the unknown began to be outweighed by the agony of not knowing. On the 8th day, as she watched Sadek and his apprentices stage an elaborate TV-worthy action scene about a secret agent coming to collect a package which was just an old battery, she made a decision. The jokes were funny, but they were just noise distracting her from a signal she needed to hear. She waited until she was back home and until her father's snores came from the next room. The compound was quiet. She pulled the notes from her textbook. The paper was already crumpled from her frequent handling. Slipping outside into the compound, her fingers trembled as she pulled out her cheap Nokia phone and dialed the number. This was it. She was either about to connect with a past she never knew or step into a trap. She took a deep breath and pressed the call button. The line rang once, then twice. Waiting felt like a lifetime. Her mouth was dry. On the third ring, it was answered. There was no greeting. Only a woman's calm voice came through, as cool and polished as the hand that had delivered the note. "We were beginning to think you weren't interested, Miss Zahrah," the voice said. "A car will be at the junction of your street tomorrow at 7 p.m. Be ready." The line went dead. Zahrah stood frozen, her heart pounding. They knew her name. They knew where she lived. The game was over. This was real. The next day, nothing felt normal. Zahrah tried to wash clothes in their little corridor kitchen, but her hands shook too much. Then she tried reading one of her textbooks, but the words blurred on the page. Her mind was already leaving at 7 o'clock. The vibrant chaos of Ajegunle, usually just background noise, felt deafening now. Every shout and every horn made her jump, thinking it was the car arriving early. As she waited, possibilities started playing in her mind. What if this was a kidnapping, a scam, or a cult initiation? But then she reminded herself, the Lexus had come in broad daylight, in front of Sadek's shop. Whoever these people were, they didn't fear witnesses. That had to mean something. Kidnappers didn't make appointments at five-star hotels. By late afternoon, she could no longer carry the weight alone. She had to tell someone. Her father was out of the question. Telling him where she was going would only cause him sleepless nights. Instead, as she helped him tidy the barbing salon that evening, she dropped a vague hint. Daddy, I might go out to see a friend later. Ikem, ever trusting, just nodded. Good, don't come back too late. And tell Sadek I said hello. He winked. She forced a smile. Sadek was the one person she would tell the truth to. She found the mechanic wiping down a freshly repaired engine. Taking a deep breath, Zahrah walked over. Sadek, I need to tell you something. He looked up, a teasing smile on his face. Talk now. You want to borrow money again? How much? Zahrah rolled her eyes. No, it's about the car, the one from last week. They gave me a paper with a number on it. I called the number yesterday. They are sending a car for me tonight. I'm meeting them at the Grand Orchard. She saw Sadek's smile vanish. He stared at her, his expression one of confusion. Then it clicked in his mind. What? He shouted. You did what? Zahrah, are you mad? So you mean you don't know those people? I thought you must have met them online or something. I thought it was Instagram people, or at least something you signed up for. I don't have Instagram, Sadek, and you know that, Zahrah said, taken aback by his shouting. Then that's even worse, he roared, throwing the rag to the ground. So they are complete strangers. They saw you on the street and decided they wanted you? What does that sound like to you? The entertainment industry is cutthroat. They will use you and throw you away. Just focus on your degree, Zahrah. Finish school. I will take care of the rest, he added with a blush. Zahrah snorted. Yes, as per you are my dad. It was the wrong thing to say. Hot flashed in Sadek's eyes and he frowned. Zahrah quickly spoke. What if it's about my mother? She disappeared since I was a child. Sadek interrupted her. Forget that. This is Lagos. People vanish every day. Zahrah, please, don't go. But his plea had the opposite effect. This was her life, a mystery to solve. I have to, Sadek. I'll be careful. Sadek turned his back on her, shrugging his shoulders in frustration. Go then, he said angrily. At 6:30, Zahrah slipped into her best Sunday dress. She tied her braids neatly, put on her shoes, and stood by the window waiting. Her father noticed her restlessness. Where you dey go like this, fine girl? He asked, folding up the day's newspaper. Just out, Zahrah replied. Ikem chuckled, shaking his head. So I go soon collect bride price after all, eh? Zahrah forced a smile, unable to respond. She stepped out of the house. Soon she was standing at the junction of her streets, her clothes suddenly feeling cheap and inadequate. Right on time, the same black Lexus pulled to a silent halt beside her. Zahrah clenched her fists, took a deep breath, and stepped forward. Instead of waiting for the window to roll down, she raised a trembling hand and knocked firmly on the tinted glass. The door unlocked. Inside sat a middle-aged man in a perfectly tailored black suit. He had the sharp demeanor of a secret agent from one of those Hollywood movies Sadek loved. Miss Zahrah, the man said, I'm Alex. I've been sent to escort you. He gestured to the seat beside him. Zahrah hesitated only a second before slipping inside, clutching her bag tightly on her lap. You are not in any danger, the man said. This is an employment opportunity. Zahrah raised her eyebrows. Employment opportunity? What kind of job interview required this level of clandestine secrecy? She wanted to ask 100 questions, but the words died in her throat. Instead, she pressed herself against the cool seat, watching the familiar chaotic streets of Ajegunle blur and transform into the wide, clean boulevards of Victoria Island. It was like traveling to another country. When they arrived at their destination, Alex didn't use the ground revolving main entrance of the hotel. Instead, he guided Zahrah to a discreet side door where uniformed staff bowed slightly as they passed. They stepped into a private elevator, its gold paneling reflecting Zahrah's nervous face back at her. She smoothened her dress, suddenly very aware of how plain it looked here. The elevator ride was smooth and silent. Zara's eyes widened as they passed floor after floor of unimaginable opulence, gleaming marble, and intricate gold leaf artworks that looked like they belonged in museums. She even caught a glimpse of a man surrounded by aides who she was sure was a senator she had seen on television. The elevator doors finally opened. Alex led Zahrah to a set of double doors on the foyer and knocked once before opening them. Zahrah's jaw dropped as they stepped into a breathtaking suite with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the glittering Lagos Lagoon. In the center of the room was a long polished meeting table, but Alex guided Zahrah towards a smaller round table by the window. A woman sat there, her back to them. Zahrah held her breath. Even from behind, the woman exuded power and wealth. Her dress was a simple but elegant cream-colored silk, and a single large pearl necklace lay against her skin. Zahrah suddenly felt every thread of her own cheap dress and every speck of Ajegunle dust clinging to her shoes. "Ma'am," Alex said, his voice respectful, "Miss Zahrah is here." The woman nodded slowly, then turned to face them. Zahrah nearly fell to the floor. She was staring at her face, her own eyes, mouth, and the arch of her eyebrows. The woman across from her looked exactly like her. It was like staring into a mirror that showed a life she could never have. The woman smiled knowingly. "Hello, Zahrah," she said, her voice a cultured, melodic version of Zahrah's own. "My name is Ajegunle. I believe we have a great deal to discuss." For a long moment, Zahrah could only stare. Her voice, when it finally came, was a strangled whisper. Why do you look like me?" The woman's smile became weary. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she raised a delicate hand, covered her mouth with an handkerchief, and coughed. Zahrah stared in shock, her sharp eyes noting the faint sickly pallor of Ezin's skin and the subtle shadows under her eyes. This woman was sick, terribly sick. "Alex, you may leave us," Ezin said, her voice regaining its composure with an obvious effort. The man in the suit gave a curt nod and exited the suite without a sound, closing the door with a soft click. They were now alone. Ezin gestured to the plush chair opposite her. "Please sit. This will take some time," she said. Zahrah remained standing, her arms wrapped tightly around her. "What is this? Who are you?" Ezin leaned back in her chair. "This," she gestured around them, "is a project, one I began 5 years ago when I was first diagnosed." "Diagnosed?" Zahrah echoed. Ezin chuckled. "A terminal illness is a powerful motivator. It forces one to plan for contingencies, and so I began to prepare." Zahrah raised her eyebrows. "Prepare for what? What is all this about?" "Finding a replacement," Ezin stated bluntly. "Someone to step into my life after I'm gone." The words were so absurd and so monstrous that Zahrah let out a short, incredulous laugh. "A replacement? For a person? That's insane, is it?" Ezin's gaze was direct. "I have a role to play, a family, a company, and a legacy. These things cannot simply pause. I have searched for years. I considered other methods, prosthetics, even a clone mask. I was desperate to do whatever it took. And then a miracle happened." Zahrah raised her eyebrows. Ezin smiled. "One of my men went to a mechanic in Ajegunle not long ago. Sadek's shop, isn't it? That's where he saw you. He said he almost fainted on the spot. Imagine, after all my searching and all my planning, to find someone who looked like me, exactly like me, by sheer accident." Her laugh was soft, but it ended in another cough. She pressed the handkerchief to her mouth again, and when she pulled it away, Zahrah swore she saw the faintest speck of red. But the core question remained, burning in Zahrah's mind. She leaned forward, her fear momentarily eclipsed by a surge of anger. "But why?" she sputtered, her voice rising. "Why do you even want someone to replace you? Why can't you just die and let your family mourn you and move on? What is so important that you need to hire a stand-in from the slums?" Ezin's composed facade cracked for the first time. She looked away, towards the glittering lights of the city, her kingdom. "Because," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper, "if I simply die, everything I have built, everything I am supposed to protect, will be destroyed. My family is not like other families. My death will be a starting pistol, and the wolves are already slackling." She turned back to Zahrah, her eyes now gleaming. I am not offering you a job, Zahrah. I am offering you a life, my life, and in return, you will save it from ruin. Hazen's word hung in the air, vast and terrifying. Zahrah's head felt like it was full of broken glass. None of it made sense. None of it could make sense. She gripped the back of the empty chair across from Ezen. Then what about my own life? She demanded. If I'm supposed to become you, what happens to everything I have going on? My studies, my friends, my father. Ezen waved a dismissive hand, as if swatting away a minor inconvenience. All of that can be sorted, the woman said. Sorted? Zahrah repeated, angry now. We are the same age, Ezen went on, dabbing at her mouth with her silk handkerchief. 22. I already have my certificates from London and Paris, but if you wish, you can continue your studies. A new degree would only strengthen the illusion. We'll weave a story that Ezen Judewa simply had the itch to return to school. Zahrah felt chilled to the bone. The woman in front of her was already rewriting her biography. And what of my friends? Zahrah pressed, thinking of Sadek. Everyone in Ajegunle knows me. I can't just become a different person overnight. Hazen's smile deepened. That depends on what you want. If you wish, you may reveal that you were Ezen Judewa all along, living under another name, slumming it for research or a personal challenge. Or you can simply vanish from their lives. It is your choice. Ezenstone suggested that the latter was the more sensible option. I have never been one for the public eye. I've either been abroad or secluded at the family estate. Stepping into my shoes would be easier than you think. The spinning sensation in Zahrah's mind intensified. It was too much. The planning, the lies, the utter erasure of everything she was. A sudden anger surged up from her gut, cutting through the shock. Why should I even do this? She burst out. I owe you nothing. Just because we look alike doesn't mean I have to. You get my life, Ezen interrupted, as if stating the most obvious fact in the world. You get all of this. Her gesture took in the room, the view, the invisible empire it represented, the wealth, the influence, the Judewa name. You will never have to worry about money again. The words sank into Zahrah like hooks. Money was her greatest vulnerability, her most fervent dream. Her eyes darted around the room again, the gold-trimmed decorations, the expensive furnishings, and the sheer unobstructed view of a city she had only ever seen from the ground. Her father's face flashed in her mind, his hands rough with years of barbing work, his jokes about Sadek, his eyes tired when he thought she wasn't looking. What about my father then? Her voice shook. What happens to him if I become you? Ezen shrugged and started coughing again. Zahrah watched nervously as the woman heaved, not knowing what to do. Finally, the woman stopped. That's for you to decide, Ezen said. You could tell him everything, swear him to secrecy, and keep him by your side in some capacity. Or you could let him believe what everyone else will believe. It doesn't matter. He's a detail, nothing more. It doesn't matter. The phrase echoed in the luxurious silence. Ikem's entire life was nothing but a small detail in Ezen's grand project. Zahrah looked at the woman's pallid face, to the glittering cityscape beyond the window. Two paths flashed before her eyes. On one side, poverty and struggle, but also love and honesty. On the other, unimaginable wealth, power, but a life built on a monumental lie. She looked down at her trembling hands, then back at the woman who wore her face. All this wealth, all this power, could it really belong to her? And that's where we leave Zahrah for tonight, faced with an impossible choice. If you're excited to see what she decides, smash that like button, tell me what you would do in her situation in the comments, and subscribe for the next episode. Your support is what makes this channel grow. Thank you for watching.